This was a fantasy world and it was full of powerful people, who could cut mountains with a flick of their hand. These men and women were known as cultivators, and were highly respected in this land. Their goal was of becoming an immortal after cultivating the Tao. The strong were worshipped and could get everything they desired. This is the story of a boy named Li Fan, who became a legend in this world. One day a boy named Li Fan from the 21st century traveled to this strange world by accident. Instead of being sad, he was happy to enter the immortal world. He had read countless novels and knew that this was the start of his protagonist's journey to the top. The first thing he did was to test his spiritual roots. He thought as he was the protagonist, he must have the golden roots, which were the rarest. But reality came crashing down, as not only did he have a crippled spiritual root but also the worst talent in cultivation. His body was a total waste. He couldn't bear this shock and cried continuously for 3 days and 3 nights. People started teasing him, bullying him, and looking down on him. He got even more depressed from this. But one day something magical occurred. He heard a voice, "Congratulations, you have triggered the God-level cultivation system." After binding with it you could follow the system tasks for training, and after completing 666 tasks, you could become an unparalleled powerhouse in the world. Li Fan became happy hearing that he had finally activated his cheat. From now on he would become invincible. Once again hope rose in his heart, as he was looking towards a bright future. The system's voice was heard after the binding was successful. Now he was proud, and he thought of slapping the faces of all those who ridiculed him earlier. But once again fate was cruel with him. The first task he received was to deliver sows to the neighbor Aunt Wang. Even the gift package he received from the system didn't have any fighting or cultivation techniques. Instead, it was a skill for farming. He became full of rage and cursed the system. Why was his luck so bad? Every other main character got a system with overpowered skills, but he got one for farming, and even more, he had to complete 666 tasks of farming. As he had no other option, he had to complete the system's tasks to survive. Thus, days passed and 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. In these past 3 years, he chopped firewood, fed grains to the chicken, he was forced to practice calligraphy and painting, and he even had to defend the melon field of the neighbor uncle's house. He was too exhausted in these 3 years. At this moment, as he was feeding the chickens, a man came and asked him, "The festival is coming soon, so could you write a couplet for me?" As Li Fan had a helping nature, he hurriedly went with the middle-aged man. After Li Fan disappeared, the 2 chickens transformed into mighty phoenixes. And from the calm pond emerged a terrifying sea dragon. The dragon then said, "Master Li just washed his feet in the pond one day and a fish grew to this size today." A tree near the pond then said, "In the past few years, I had seen the master's power increase so much, that now he seemed unfathomable. But in these past years I had never seen master welcome any girls." The dragon then said, "It was because the master was so busy, where could he meet girls?" At the same time, outside a village in the mountains, a group of people stood there. Leading them was a woman named Mu Qian. She was also known as the Saintess. One of the disciples stopped her and said in a shaking voice, "That place is dangerous, Saintess, even the ancestors had fallen in it. Do you really want to risk yourself?" The woman gritted her teeth and said, "It was a matter of their survival, she had to do it." She then took out the treasure of her sect and alerted everyone to use their qi to protect themselves. She continued, "When I break through this blocking barrier with this formation disc, immediately follow me in." She then activated the formation disc, which was the treasure of their sect. The formation disc activated and a huge crack appeared in the barrier. From within the crack, strong qi erupted and attacked everyone. The formation disc broke in pieces, and the woman, Mu Qian, who was nearest to the activation, suffered heavy injuries. Mu Qian cried because she couldn't even pass the first obstacle. This way she would never be able to find the divine water beads. Slowly her consciousness sank and she fell down. But before she could touch the ground, she was caught in a man's embrace. The man became surprised seeing someone fall out of nowhere. This man was Li Fan. He then asked what happened to her, but soon realized that she was unconscious. He realized that because of so much smog and lack of oxygen, the girl might have fainted. He then casually fanned his hands, but what happened next was that all the smog near that area got cleared. The woman had regained her consciousness, and seeing all this was shocked, as this was no ordinary smog, but a formation spell, and no one could dissipate it like that. Just how high was this man's cultivation? The woman hurriedly bowed along with all of her juniors. She then introduced herself as Mu Qian from Lihuo sect. She then explained him about her situation, as how she along with her juniors were stuck in a formation, and the only way was to break it. She even apologized the man for disturbing him. She referred to him as a senior. Then she thanked him for helping her. Li Fan was embarrassed and said, he was not a senior but just an ordinary person. He then remembers something and says, this Lihuo sect sounded familiar. By the way, how could I help you? The woman then responded, Senior, this junior came here to find a dark green bead. The woman was thinking, even though she had met an expert, it was much better to speak less about this matter, as it contained the secrets of the sect. Li Fan suddenly remembered and asked, he had seen that green bead many times, did it belong to her? The woman was surprised and hurriedly bowed once again and requested him to take her to that place. The man then said, it was no problem to take them to the place, but as there were so many people and horses, they had to make sure not to trample the corn that he planted. The woman replied in a desperate voice, then Senior, please take me alone, as long you are willing to help, I am willing to pay any price. The man felt awkward seeing her suddenly close the distance between them. He then agreed. A disciple came and whispered something in her ear. Saintess, this place is dangerous, do you really want to go alone? The saintess replied calmly, needless to say, for the sake of the sect, I will go no matter how difficult it is. Li Fan, seeing the disciple dressing her up, thought, this woman might be some rich young lady, from a prestigious family. Then Li Fan looked towards the village and there erupted a huge fire in between. This was the Samadhi true fire. The woman then thought, could her armor protect her from this fire? The man then said, come with me. He entered the fire and continued walking. Seeing this, the disciples were shocked. Even the woman Mu Qian was shocked because wherever the man put his step, the flames disappeared from that place. It was like they were dodging the man. Li Fan then turned around and asked her, why she was in a daze, she should follow him. The girl then also stepped into the fire, and it didn't harm her. The anxious disciples gritted their teeth and prayed for the saintess to win the senior's favor and fins the water divine beads, as that was the only lifeline for their sect. Li Fan then told her that those water beads she was referring to were spotted by him while he was chopping firewood in this grove. On the other side, the woman's surprise turned to shock, because the thing this man was referring to as grove was the legendary everlasting tree. And did he say he was cutting firewood from this precious tree? The woman almost fainted after hearing all that. The man caught her and asked what happened. She replied that she felt a little dizzy. Li Fan then told her to rest under this tree. He began thinking, this girl's body was way too delicate. She got dizzy just after walking a few steps. The girl realized something. This place felt like a wonderland. It was no better than heaven described by the ancestors. Just by resting here, she could feel all the surrounding spiritual power gush into her. Li Fan then came and asked if she would like to drink water. The woman thanked him and took the gourd. As soon as she looked inside it, she was astonished, because she felt that this water had some mystery to it. After drinking a sip of it, she realized that she had broken through from the second level to the third level of cultivation, from third to the fourth level, and from fourth to the fifth level. She had directly jumped 3 levels in cultivation, which otherwise would have taken her at least 4 years to reach. She was so dumbfounded that she just stared at the gourd bottle. Li Fan didn't know what was happening, as he couldn't sense any qi, so just seeing her look at the gourd made him realize that she must be feeling more thirsty. He then tells her not to worry as there was plenty of water for her to drink. The woman, hearing all that, thought, the senior must be testing me, so I shouldn't be greedy. She then hurriedly thanked the man and returned the gourd bottle. The man then looked somewhere and said, he remembered seeing a dark green bead nearby, so she could search for it. The woman thought, after her cultivation had improved, her spiritual sense and perception had greatly increased. She could already sense the breath of the divine water bead. She then suddenly pointed towards a direction. As they reached there, the man smiled and said, "So, it turned out to be here." The bead floated towards the man, in a friendly manner. Seeing this, the woman thought, the divine water beads have spirits and they would always be attracted towards the strong. Li Fan then handed over the bead to the woman. The woman was surprised seeing the senior directly handing it to him. She had thought he would demand something in return, but he was too generous. She then bowed and expressed her gratitude. Seeing the women still bowing like that made the man embarrassed, and he then told her to relax and change her clothes before leaving. The woman was full of gratitude for him and bade him farewell. She hoped to meet him in the future someday. As she walked out from the village, one of the disciples stepped out and said with a flustered voice, "Saintess, it is bad. The sect sent an urgent call. The flame sect is here to destroy our sect. We should hurry." The woman was shocked hearing this. They quickly left. On the other side, inside the Lihuo sect, a middle-aged man with a mustache came along with his entourage. He then spoke in an arrogant tone, "Sect leader, from today onwards your Lihuo sect won't exist. You are the only one in the nascent soul realm in your whole sect, whereas we have 3 of them. Do you still think you could fight against my raging fire sect? It is better you surrender." The sect leader spoke in a determined voice, "As long as I am breathing, you guys should never even think of destroying my Lihuo sect." The other middle-aged man then smirked and charged his energy. He coldly said, "If that is what you think, then I would have to stop your breath first." At this moment a loud voice was heard, "Everyone stop." The woman Mu Qian hurriedly came and said, "Report to the sect master, the most precious treasure of the Lihuo sect, the divine water bead, has been recovered." The sect leader got excited hearing that and said, "Now that we have the divine water bead, we could win this fight." As the divine water beads had the power to increase the strength of the cultivator several times. The disciples of Lihuo sect cheered. The man with a mustache trembled seeing this and shouted, "How was it possible? This bead was lost many years ago in the Forbidden Land. How could she possibly get in and retrieve it?" Mu Qian then smirked and said, "It was a senior, whom she met in the Forbidden Land, and he was the one who gave this to her." The man then laughed and said, "Wow. Even Lihuo sect is good at lying. You just found some random fake bead in order to receive the people of your sect." But in the next moment the man was shocked. The woman then replied, "Elder Gong, the beads might be faked, but could the cultivation also be faked?" While saying so, she revealed her 9th level cultivation. The man was horrified, and shouted she was only at the 2nd level. How could she get to the 9th level? The woman then coldly said, "It was just that the senior in the Forbidden Land gave her some pointers." She then thought, under the tree while resting, her cultivation had improved to the 5th level, and, while coming here, she used the divine water bead to increase it even further to the 9th level. Even though he saw the truth, it was hard for him to accept it. As he was slowly retreating, he fell down. His disciples asked if he was all right. The man was so embarrassed that he told them to shut up. The man then said, "Don't think that I am afraid of you, Lihuo sect, now that you have a bead. I'll come again, just live a little longer." After finishing his third-rate cliché speech, he along with his disciples retreated. The sect leader, seeing their retreating figure, said, "I never expected to get the help of some mysterious expert. Whoever he is, thank you for saving my sect." The sect leader then hurriedly went to call the old ancestor who was meditating on the mountain. As now they were going to go meet that mysterious senior. After a while, the sect leader, old ancestor, and Mu Qian had finally reached the entrance of the village, where Mu Qian had met the senior. The old man then asked if this was the right place. The woman replied that she was not sure if he lived here, but she definitely met him here only. After entering the village, the sect leader was astonished to see a village and people living in it. He then said, The forbidden land was very near to this place, then how could people live in here? They soon spot an old couple. The old ancestor spotted the hoe on the old couple's shoulder and asked them to stop. He then asked the old woman, "Did anyone use her hoe recently?" The old ancestor asked it because the hoe was emitting terrifying amount of qi and it was by no way ordinary. Only the person who last used it must have left some of it on it. The old woman then said, "Only I have used it, who else would use it?" At this moment the old man intervened, "Dear, how could you forget, didn't little Li Fan help you weed?" Only then did the woman realize, she had forgotten because of her old age, it was indeed little Li who helped her, this morning. The old ancestor then politely asked the location of Li Fan's home. The woman pointed to the stone house and said, "Just behind that vegetable field is his home." As they walked there, they were shocked seeing the vegetable field. Because they weren't vegetables, instead elixirs. The quality of these ingredients were legendary. There were 5 categories: low, average, high, excellent and legendary. Even in their sect they used average quality ingredients. High quality ingredients were very expensive and only top sects used it. Excellent was very rare and no one had ever seen legendary quality ingredients. They couldn't contain their excitement and started chewing the grasses, as it contained too much spirit energy. There wasn't even a need to purify it to create an elixir, as this was the purest form. After eating, then sprinted towards the stone house to greet this mysterious senior. That's all for this video. If you want a part 2, comment, and one more thing, in the coming chapters a lot of action is there.